Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our very first special episode of a new series focusing on New Japan Strong.
Oh,
I am
wow.
here with one of the stars of the show, Karl Fredericks. Karl, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks. I didn't know this is the first, the inaugural New Japan Strong episode. Feels pretty good.
Yeah, I have two today, and you're the first one. And I'm hoping
Okay,
to book more in the future. I've already reached out to a couple of
good.
stars. For you, you joined New Japan in 2018. Is that correct? Late 2018?
Correct. Late July 2018.
Yes, you were one of the first recruits to the new LA dojo of the
Correct.
reopening of the legendary LA dojo, and you had
Mhm.
previously been wrestling for about 3 years, having trained under Reno Scum. What was the
Yep.
difference between training under Reno and going to a Japanese dojo where they are notoriously a lot stricter, and you have to
Oh
do
man.
excursions and stuff like that?
Oh man. I've been very blessed because the quality of training I've received since I started has been so good. But there's the way that Scum trained me as opposed to the way Shibata-san trained me, obviously like night and day. I was, I was 3.5 years in and off and running, working every single weekend, traveling, and then going from, maintenance, working out in the gym. I was still, most days would be like, um, I would go to work and then I would go to CrossFit and then I would go to wrestling training or do like bodybuilding afterwards. It was always like double days at the gym after work or some order of that stuff. But my wrestling training was more just getting in, working, trying new things, stuff like that. I was at the point where I wasn't bumping like a madman again and doing all that. And then when I entered the dojo, man, it was nothing but working out. It was just workouts, basic. The first few days, I mean, even there was days where we just did lockups, all day. Then it was like, I think we did like 5 sets of like, or 10 sets of 10 like body slams, like trading slam, like 10, you take 10 in a row, switch, stuff like that. So it was just so much harder. And then we were in the dojo from like 9:30 a.m. We would get there at 9, training would start at 9:30, and we wouldn't get home till about 5 p.m. So it was like a real 9 to 5, bust your ass all day, get your ass whipped, and then clean real quick, and then head home. Same thing as in Japan. We'd head home, and then we would cook dinner, make sure, cook chanko and do all that stuff. But yeah, pretty much the intensity was not like nothing I've ever seen outside of playing sports, which is the thing that really just really made me want to go this route and go the New Japan route and go enter the dojo and do it all the hard way, because it was just that wrestling's a very competitive business in and of itself, but all of your work is really on you for the most part. Your success depends on your
Yeah.
work ethic. But when I went to the dojo and I knew that it was a really small group, and I was actually the last guy to sneak in. So Clark, Alex, and we had a third member. They were already for months training and doing all the camps and everything. So I was in the very last camp that they ran that year, and I just being in there, knowing that we were competing, like I could tell that the way that Shibata-san and the other coaches were watching, that they were, they opened up a dojo in America that I figured they were trying to sign people or bring people along, and that competitive, that 3 days, it was the worst 3 days of training I've ever had. It was so hard, and I had 2 shows in between. But man, it was just that real competition. With New Japan, it's real sports. This is professional sports, and they train us like that. It's been beaten into me, and but that's how I wanted this to be in the first place. I wanted to feel that way, So my Clark, Alex, the entire LA dojo, those are my teammates. Those are my brothers, and we went through the worst of the worst days and the best of the best days so far. We've all done it together, and that's my team. And it's just, I feel now, as you know, coming on nearly 4 years of New Japan, I feel much more like an athlete, and I'm a better athlete than I've ever been in my life. And that's coming from having played sports, and I've got a close group of brothers and teammates that I've never had before as well.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed watching New Japan Strong is that the fundamentals are always great. The footwork, the lockups, just everything with the fundamentals have always been very good with everybody. That's probably why.
Yeah, it's got to be perfect, man.
The fundamentals are great. Obviously, you mentioned Clark Connors and Alex Coughlin, I believe is who you're referring to with when you mentioned
Hard G.
Coughlin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
weird.
Okay,
my bad. Clark Connors has been one of the most talked about in recent months.
Rightfully so.
But you worked with them in the Young Lions Cup in 2019, which you went off and you lost one match, as far as I remember, to Ren Narita, who finished in second with 10 points, but you won with 12 points. What was that competition like?
Man, when we first went to Japan, I actually watched one of those matches this morning before the gym. Clark and I went for the G1 in 2019. It was our first tour in Japan, and we teamed with Kenta. And on night one, it was the three of us against Tanahashi, Ren Narita, and Shota. And we didn't talk the entire day.
Shota also had 12.
Yeah, 10. 10. Yeah, there was a two-way tie for second place. But third place would have went to Narita because Shota beat Narita. The tie would have went to the winner. But it was intense because we didn't, knowing the way Bodyslam was and the way he's telling, he's like, you're gonna go to Japan, you're gonna compete with these kids, and we couldn't let them out wrestle us. We couldn't let them bully, nothing. We had to come in there and fight strong. And that first night we didn't talk we hadn't talked in the dojo. We hadn't talked at the show. We were very, very distant for that entire tour. And then by the time, we did 5 weeks there, came to America for a little bit. Then we went back for the cup, for the Young Lions Cup. And then it was very much it was dojo versus dojo. And the three of us, I didn't want to be the one to give up a loss to that dojo. And I did on my first night. I lost to Narita in the first round, but every one of those matches, we were just very cold to each other, I think, because of the competition. And they have, rightfully so, all the pride in the world in their work and their dojo and all the stuff that they had gone through to get to that point. And I think that's why the cup was so good, because everybody in the tournament was fighting for a real purpose and real pride in our dojo and our training.
Yeah, I love one of the things I love about New Japan in general is that there's a brotherhood in everything, but in different ways, and so that kind of clashes when you watch their programs. From there, you would graduate the LA Dojo, one of the first graduates of the reopened LA Dojo. So you would lose the traditional, the first. You would lose the traditional black garb that you usually wore, the gear. Something like Shibata usually wears, the black trunks, kick pads, knee pads, boots.
The man in black,
and you would finally get to choose your own gear.
Mm-hmm.
What went into the decision on how you would want your look to be as you evolved in New Japan?
So some people have been able to pick up on it right away, which has been really cool. Others have not, which is fine. But it's all, the tassels, the look, the tribal designs on the gear and even, you know, the Alpha Wolf moniker. It's all just comes from a cultural place close to me. I'm American Indian, and I wanted to show that and put that in my wrestling without being the Indian wrestler. You know, I'm a wrestler who happens to be Native American. Everything that's special about me, everything that's good about me has to do just with me, who I am as an individual, my culture as well, but it's not my, you know, I didn't want my wrestling to be about that. So I just got the inspiration, the tassels and all of that. That's I got the inspiration just from traditional powwow, the fancy dancers, the dancing gear. So there's very, very colorful, bright, all the tribal design, the tassels, you know, bells. If I could have bells on my kick pads, I would too, but probably a little dangerous. But yeah, it was all it was something I've always known I was going to do.
Honestly.
What's that?
The bells would distract me. Like, if I were a wrestler, but also as a viewer, like every time I would hear a bell, I would go, "Is the match over?" That's abrupt.
But yeah, it was all that's just me putting my culture out there, and it's just something I've always wanted to do. Something that was very important to me. Without you know, I've had discussions with other companies where it was like, you know, would you like to put your, you know, would you be interested in incorporating your culture into your character? And my answer is obviously yes, of course. But and no offense, this is not, I'm not taking shots to Tonka or, you know, but I didn't want to become this character that isn't me. You know,
you didn't want to become
American Indian, regardless of how I look or how I talk or what I wear, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, it's been it's actually been well received. Plus I love the design so much, and I'm never gonna leave those tassels behind, I don't think, because it's different. They look really cool when I do my
awesome.
move.
It's unique. You stand out.
Yeah, and it's different, you know. And I'm a different cat, I'd like to think.
So you mentioned bells under kick pads. You just know Alex Kozlov on commentary would totally be like, he just got his bell wrong every time you kick somebody.
Either that, or he'd be on there wailing and complaining about me cheating or something, or that way. Kozlov is definitely to hop on the. He respectfully commentates my matches, but he's not on the bandwagon yet. But I'll convert him. I'll make him a fan.
Oh man, he's hard to win over, man.
Yeah, it seems like it.
The only person who's ever really won him over is Rocky Romero, which leads me to my next question with how hands-on is Rocky Romero with you guys? Because I know New Japan Strong is kind of his project.
It just depends on where you're at. You know, it's been 2 years since I've graduated the dojo, but then us being on this show, and you know, the first year and a half was in front of nobody, and I'm this new character and things like that. So he was, as far as me personally, you know, very, very good about helping guide me through this transition. This last year has been much more. I'm doing my thing, and you know, I'm comfortable. I'm getting that. But as a young lion, he's just been a big help. You know, having him in the dojo. Times when Shibata-san's gone, we have him there. He's on all the tours. He's been through it. You know, he knows what it's like being in our shoes. So he's just been a good resource and someone good to help. You know, on the bad days. You know, just to like kind of talk you through it, and like, you know, it's not forever. You know, that these hard days are not forever, things like that. So I do have a great appreciation for Rocky, and the working relationship I've had with him since being here, and then just him, you know, he's been there for the LA Dojo boys since we've been there.
That's awesome. Rocky Romero's my dude, man. The next, you mentioned that quite a few times in that statement that most of your work with New Japan has been during the COVID-19 pandemic. How much of a culture shock was that for the workers adjusting to working in front of no audience, because workers usually tend to feed off of, or wrestlers, performers usually tend to feed off of the emotion brought by the audience?
It was crazy, man, and I think it's very different for all styles as well. You know, like American wrestling, things like that. Ours might have been, you know, Japanese strong style might be the best suited style for empty arena, I think, because
I agree.
there's a lot of, you know, it's head to head fight. And the plus is for me, I like watching those matches and hearing the strikes because I like hitting people hard. You know what I mean? Like you or the Kenta match. You can the Kenta the New Japan Cup USA match. Like you kick the piss out of me and you can hear it. You know, and I like that. That's been nice. But the hardest part,
Kent is a guy I'm sure struggled.
yeah, and I think the hardest part as a wrestler, as an athlete, is just there's that adrenaline's not there the same way. It's there, but it's not the same way because when you get hit and the fans see you trying to stand your ground and trying to not go down, and you can feel them come up with you, and that, you know, and they give you that emotion, that energy from them with their claps and their voice, and you know, the pain kind of goes away for the duration of the match a little bit. And empty arena, you feel everything 110%, and it's something I hope we don't ever have to go back to. But also, it's the pandemic is the reason why Strong was birthed in the first place. That's gave us an opportunity to do this, and then, you know, we have a really great roster of incredibly talented wrestlers, and we built this show out of nothing, in front of nobody, from nothing, and now we're touring, and it's last week, you know, it's getting better and better. We got Gabe over here now. We're bringing people in from other companies, and I think this year especially is going to be the year that really puts Strong over as far as exposure, because I think people are going to really start paying attention the way that the show deserves.
Another big match for you during the COVID-19 pandemic was June of 2021, the end of the month. You went head-to-head with Strong Openweight champion, Filthy Tom Lawler. Being in the ring with a competitor the caliber of Tom Lawler, how much did that affect you?
I mean, he was already the reigning champion at that point. So, I mean, there was nothing, even with having lost, there was nothing in that match that he did where I felt, you know, below or out of place or any, you know, anything like that. He had my full respect as the champion and as a threat. But this, you know, so like this always alpha thing, you know, it's on my entrance jacket, it's on my merch. For me, it's not. This is something I would love to explain, because it's not like this macho, you know, I'm an alpha male, beta male. Like, it's nothing. I wear women's jeans, dog. You know, like, it's nothing like that. For me, the always alpha, it's Mamba mentality. You know, LeBron James, you know, whether he was going up against Kobe or who, it doesn't matter. Like, he knows he's LeBron. Kobe knows he's Kobe. And I know that in this business, I'm one of the best pure athletes in the world, and that I can hang with anybody. So for me, that's, if you don't have that belief in yourself, I don't think you can survive in any professional sport, or you can't thrive. At least you may be able to survive, but I'm not here to survive. I'm here to win and you know, be the best athlete that I can. So I go into every match, you know, the Osprey match, I went to that match believing wholeheartedly that I could win that match. I didn't, but I don't think that match would have went as well for me if I didn't have that belief, you know, because same thing with Tom, like, so an athlete the caliber of Tom Lawler, or a champion the caliber of Will Ospreay, they'll eat you alive. You know, I think that when you get to a certain level, you can smell that on your opponent. You know, you can sense that they're they're uncomfortable or they're unsure. And I think that both Tom and Will would have eaten me alive if I had any of that in me.
Will Ospreay and Tom Lawler are two entirely different opponents.
Oh, goodness.
Completely different styles, completely different pace. How much have you, so you've wrestled a diverse variety of wrestlers during your tenure with New Japan Strong. What have you learned from each different style, and have you taken anything to put it into your own work?
For me, say something like Will Ospreay. So I used to do a lot more, before New Japan, I was doing a lot more acrobatics, a lot dives, flips, things of that sort. And I was a quarterback. I was track and field, pole vault. So I can run and jump and sprint. And I wrestled Blake Christian, and I don't think that I was any bit slower than him, even though I'm twice his size. So being able to match that speed with Will wasn't as hard. But if it wasn't for my training with Bodyslam, I would not have been able to match the intensity that Tom Lawler brings. Because Tom's as real as it gets. So being able to stand in the pocket and throw strikes and try and fight Tom, that was something that if I hadn't had my tenure in New Japan and I had just been wrestling in America and happened to wrestle Tom Lawler, I think the American indie Carl would have gotten eaten alive. But that guy's dead. So
it's a fascinating answer. Another thing I want to touch on is if people watching this on YouTube or a video platform look at your hand, they will see a tattoo. Both of your arms are inked.
Yes.
As much as they can be. What is the meaning behind specific tattoos? Like, I'm fascinated by ink and people's stories behind them. So
show the camera. Okay. So this section here was my first tattoo. It was a 16-hour ordeal, and it's hard.
That's rough.
Especially just the dark, the shading. But I got these designs were inspiration from native blanket work. So I gathered a bunch of blankets, things like that, and gave them to my artist, and we came up with something. Excuse me, this one, the top one was baskets. So basket, like Native American baskets. So this one was designed from different baskets. I gave it to my artist, and he came up with this. And then the bottom section was from blanket designs. So the same kind of deal, gave him different things, and he came up with this for me. And then right before my 3-year anniversary or 2-year anniversary wrestling tattoo, present to myself is A Day to Remember's Homesick album art. And then my sister and I got matching arrows because
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was right when I signed with New Japan. I was about to move to LA, and she sent me a text and asked if I wanted to get matching tattoos and that she would pay for it, and that she wanted the arrows because our people use them to hunt and gather and protect each other. And she said, "I got your back. You always got mine." And so that was an easy one to say yes to. And this most recent one is easily my favorite, and it's a zombie chief. And it was done by the same guy who did this, which is one of the King Ghidorah heads from Godzilla. I think that's all of them. Yeah.
Those are really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Those are really cool.
Very happy with them.
My favorite is my favorite's the basket one, because I think it's really cool how you can just show a tattoo art or something, and they'll come up with something that complex that looks that good.
The chief, the zombie chief, and it looks so good from far away on camera, because I wanted like 90s like horror comic book art, and my tattoo artist is really good with that stuff. But I said I want a zombie chief, something, just gave him like a basic idea, and like the image I had in my head is shit compared to what he came up with. But yeah, I didn't see it until the day of. I walked in the shop and he showed it to me, and it was immediate, tenfold better than anything I had cooked up in my head. So we're hopefully here soon. I've sent him some more ideas, but they're they're more vague than the other stuff because I don't even know how to describe it. But him as an artist, like he understood what I'm kind of going for. So hopefully soon I'll be showing up on Strong some another big expensive piece somewhere.
Where would you think about putting it? Because your arms are getting filled. You kind of have the forearm spot
and I
you can
want
do a sleeve
and I
on.
want to keep this one. I want to keep this one. Just I like that it stops here, and it's like it's my tribal pieces, my cultural pieces, you know. So I think I like them being clean by themselves. I'm either gonna move to my thigh or this half of my body. But
That
I
would
don't
look great.
But I don't want something like like it looks clean cut like around my pec. That's why it's great. Like I want some sort of like horror screwed up scenery, like forest type, something that will go with my chief. And so yeah, I sent this really bad description of a text message to my artist, and he's like, none of this makes sense, but I know what you mean. So hopefully he's cooking something up for me.
That's awesome. Goals for 2022.
Man, number one goal is I got to get to Japan. You know, it's been 2 years. I've missed everything for 2 years. Thank goodness we've got Strong, but you know, when all of our championships, aside from the Strong open weight title, of course, but all of our championships, all of our biggest superstars, all of the guys that I have to beat to prove myself, to get the things that I want in my career, and to you know, to accomplish my goals here, I have to be in Japan. So this pandemic has been a big stressor as far as that goes, but hopefully things start to turn around this year, and at some point I'll be taking those long flights again.
You've mentioned that trip to Japan in 2019 twice now. What was the coolest thing about the experience within the culture of Japan compared to the States?
Oh my goodness, that 5-week G1 tour, and it was the first time I had been away from or been out of the States that long, because I never left the country or anything growing up. I never went on a European vacation or anything like that. So just that culture shock alone, I was dumb enough to where I thought I could get by with just having Wi-Fi on my phone instead of activating like international phone service. So that caused a lot of mornings or a lot of days where I had walked. I'd like Google Maps from the hotel where the gym was, and I would like screenshot it, and I would get there fine, and then I would have no service on the way back. And one time I was in Osaka, I want to say, and I could not find my way back to the hotel. I had no phone service, and I had been walking so long that it was now getting time to where like I was stressing out, because we, as a young lion, like you got to be there, 30 minutes before the bus, or, pretty early, load the bags. So I still had to get back to my room, shower, change, pack, and get there. And I was literally just running around Osaka, like sprinting the streets, just because I knew that like kind of the area I was in. And I ended up going in a bike shop, and the owner had like dial-up internet, and he printed me out some maps, and he helped me out. And the poor guy couldn't understand. He didn't speak any English. So I'm just like rambling, and I don't know if I had a hotel card or something like that. Clark was the smart one that would always take a hotel card whenever we would leave, so he could at least ask the cab driver or something. But the culture shock, just it was a lot. It was a big crash course that first 5 weeks. His new country, I have all the responsibilities, these militant responsibilities as a young boy, and then I'm wrestling, more than I've ever wrestled in, multiple times a week, and I'm on the G1. I'm wrestling in front of 12,000 people. At some point in the middle of the tour, before 10 a.m., I went through like a breakup, and I found out my uncle had passed away. So like midway through the tour, I got in that 5 weeks, I got to experience all like the wonderful things about this business and traveling and being signed, because you're getting Japanese fans they bring you presents, and it was my first time, like signing autographs, like left and right like that. They're taking you out to dinners, things of that sort. And then I had like every type of issue you could imagine with being away from home and important stuff happening and bad stuff happening. So that first I think it was like 5.5 weeks or whatever, it was tough. And to be honest, it was one of those, it was right at the end of my first year contract too. And I was real unsure because I was just like, man, I don't know if, you know, this is so hard. I don't know if I can do this. I don't, but then again, like legit, Rocky was one of those people that like it came to, I aired my, like everything that I was having a hard time with. And he was, he was very good. And I'm very thankful that he was one of the people there for me to tell me like, go, you'll get to go home. Like, you know what I mean? Like everything's gonna be fine. None of this is forever. Just keep going. And that first 5 weeks was nuts. But then by the time I had come back, 3 weeks later in August, it was nothing from August, like that Young Lion Cup tour. And then I did Junior Tag League. I wasn't in it, but Clark was in it. So I was on every tour from the G1 through Wrestle Kingdom of that next year. So I pretty much lived. I was in Japan for every single tour. And by September after the cup, I was comfortable. And it does get hard, obviously, being away. And I'm also lucky where I haven't been doing it for a number of years now, because I imagine all the guys and workers for our company that have been doing these traveling, gone every Thanksgiving, gone Christmas every year. I'm sure it does wear on you, but and then now having this 2-year break, I'm at the point where, I'm just ready to get back. And luckily I don't have the family or these other stressors. What's that?
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah. And I'm ready to be back there. And I'm sure after a handful of weeks, then I'll be ready to be back here for a little bit. But once you were moving and traveling, all the time, it kind of makes no difference where you're at that point. That's what I really want to get back to, is just being too busy for my own good,
If I can show my age for a minute, there's one thing in that story that stood out to me.
Oh no.
I am barely old enough to remember the days of dial-up internet.
Oh God, man, it's killing me because I'm running into this a lot now. I'll be 32 in July, but it's cool because I got to grow up when it was kind of strange that we were doing typing lessons in 3rd grade because we had a computer lab, so like I grew up with the internet. I knew a life before it. Thankfully, very happy that like my middle school years and my young ages, there was no social media, no internet, anything like that. Because
it's a give and take thing, man.
Yeah. And I mean, there's just like anything else, there's a million wonderful things about the internet and there's a million terrible things about it, but I didn't have a cell phone until I was 16, almost 17, which I was like behind the curve. People had them in 2007. I graduated in 2008. So my friends had them, but I wasn't didn't feel like I needed one for a long time. I remember the old Nokia, you could play Snake on it, the little brick phone. And it used to have to charge. It was like per text message, it was like 20 cents or something crazy. And then the idea of texting somebody seemed so stupid when I was 10, because like, wouldn't you just simply just call a person? Why would I send a 2-word message? And now like someone calls me, I'm like, what do you?
But back then on the keypad, you had to click a number 3 times to get a letter.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't use T9 texting either. Do you know what that is? God, I hate that. I asked if you know. Do you? No, you don't.
I do, just barely.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
I'm a very novice on it.
Yeah, it was like one of the first forms of like predictive texting. Essentially, but I would still like. I was so good at like, and then I had a sidekick for a while. That thing was wonderful. If I could have a sidekick again today, if they remade a sidekick, I would ditch my iPhone and get a sidekick.
Yeah, I'm 20, so I'm just old enough to remember most of this stuff.
How old are you?
I'm 20. I'm just old enough to remember most of this stuff, but not have used it often. So I grew up. I would have much rather not grown up in the age of social media, but I did.
Yeah, because
But it's helped me a lot because the reason I'm doing this now is because I started writing for websites when I was 14.
okay. What kind of websites?
So sports in general.
Oh,
Everything
cool.
I've done has been in sports.
Do you have a favorite sport?
I don't count pro wrestling in this because pro
Fair.
wrestling would be number
Yeah.
one. I've been a pro wrestling fan religiously. Watch it every time. I watch it all day, every day since I was 5.
Wow.
So my
I was around
my
6 years old
personal
when I got the
favorite
bug.
my personal favorite sport is baseball.
Oh, cool. Who's your team?
Uh, I'm from Tampa, but my family were Braves fans
Oh,
before the Rays
cool.
got a team in '98. So I grew up watching both.
Nice. I played
Um,
for that was one of the first little league teams I played for was the Devil Rays.
it's awesome. Those uniforms are all time, man.
I didn't like the mascot, but again, like I'm from the desert, right? So I'm from about an hour and a
Yeah.
half away from Reno. I graduated with like 60 kids in a big class that probably had kids dumped over from the class ahead of me, even 300 kids maybe in my high school. I'm from the desert. It snows, it rains, but we don't have like sea animals of any kind, like aquatic life. So I've never been able to like connect with the dolphins or the Rays and not to mention I was living in Arizona
Yeah.
when I was playing for the Devil Rays, so it just didn't seem right. But the colors, I will
Oh,
say
and
this.
they got an expansion team at the same time.
Yeah. They I do like the colors though. Like the uniform, they have a great look, but I just wasn't able
Yeah.
to be pumped about being a Ray because I from the desert.
It's fair. That's about how I would have felt as a kid being a Diamondback.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we had like one of the other
Also
teams
great uniform.
was and I was playing. Imagine again showing my age. So this was when like this is like 2001. Like Randy Johnson they won the World Series that year too, and like so being
Yeah.
being a rattlesnake,
Tony
when you're in the
Womack was
desert,
on
was
the
a way
team.
cooler mascot. Or like my high school, like there's you drive
Yeah.
if you drive to my hometown from Reno, you'll see wild Mustang, you'll see wild horses just out and about, and we were the Mustangs. So like that was always something I could relate to. But yeah, the Devil Rays, the Dolphins, the aquatic animals are not for me. Also because I'm terrified of sea life as well. Great swimmer, I'll
Yeah.
go out in the ocean, I'll swim, but if I see an animal of any sort, like I got to leave for about an hour. I'll wait an hour, and if I haven't seen anything, I'll go back in, but I don't trust them.
That's fascinating. We've been on for about 40 minutes. I'm gonna wrap up here. It's been a big pleasure having you on. Like I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you for having
Your
me. Thank you
stories
for
are
making
great.
me the first.
This was a great interview. I really appreciate it. Some of these stories were great. All of them were great. You're going to do big things, man. You're really good. You've got a good head on your shoulders.
I appreciate that a ton, man. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on so much.
Absolutely, man. Check out New Japan Strong if you're watching this. Saturdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, I believe. Adjust to your
8
time zone.
Eastern.
8 Eastern.
New Japan World.
NewJapanWorld.com.
Do you know if it's ever going to go to Access? Because I know that Access is coming.
We got the access. Yeah, we got the deal. We got that coming back. As far as I know, and this is literally just me thinking of the last advert that I saw for it, but it was I think the first month or so we'll be airing classic matches, probably stuff from recently, I would assume. And then I think it said in February, March, airing new content. So I'm not sure what that means. I'm hoping and praying it's this brand here because I think this is the absolute best as far as work rate goes. There's the absolute best hour of professional wrestling on this planet. And Gabe, Gabe said
I
it.
agree.
The guy on that hill. and I'm prepared to die on that hill right next to my friends, and we're gonna bust our asses all year and every year after this to make this a reality, because we believe in ourselves, and we believe in this company, and we believe in this show.
The show is fantastic. I'm a big fan. I started watching over the pandemic, and it's been my favorite hour of wrestling throughout the pandemic.
Good.
It's
Good.
such an
Glad to
easy
hear that.
watch. For social media, Carl, where can I find you?
On Instagram, I am Karl Fredericks NJPW. Twitter is Karl Fredericks _ fairly certain. I have a TikTok. I've yet to post any content. That's going to be mostly music related, with my DJ production, that type of stuff. But there will be
Next
content
time you're on,
YouTube.
we're talking about music.
Oh, absolutely! I would love to talk. I'll talk music all day. So yeah, my TikToks can be more so for my music stuff. Please don't add me on Facebook. Appreciate it. I think that's all of them. Yeah, that last one never works, because, but it's worth saying. It's worth it to me.
You just have 1,000 friend requests just sitting there unanswered.
Well, it's just, I don't know. I've gotten to this point. It's just tough for me. Like, almost, I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, or just also probably like state of the world. But over these last 2 years, like, I've just developed a much more private sense of or appreciation for like privacy, private life, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
a little bit of social anxiety here and there. Nothing bad or detrimental, but it's just like, when I'm at work, that's, jazz hands are out. That guy's there. I'm here to work.
Lights are on.
I'm here. Yeah, lights are on, and that's what I'm here for. You, everyone else. But then, when I clock out and go home, man, it stresses me out. I'm bad with like my close friends and family even now, like Instagram DMs, things like. If I post and I leave the app and I get off, just because seeing all the notifications, or just people that I don't know contacting me, just kind of stresses me out a bit. It has its moments.
And where can people find merchandise?
Tokon Shop Global, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and New Japan 1972.com, or tokonshopglobal.com. The links you'll find on the main site. But yeah, all my merch is on that site. Everybody else's merch is on that site. Make sure you go pick it up. Pick up those cute LA Dojo mugs with the boys on there.
It's beautiful. For me, you can find me on Twitter at the Jameus. You can like my Facebook page. Please don't add my personal account. I'm with Carl on that one.
See? Follow me everywhere else.
My Instagram's private, so I'm not going to share that, because otherwise there'd be no point in
there'd be no
private.
tomorrow.
It's just pictures.
There's no coming back.
It's just pictures of my cats and dogs anyway. And then you can support Bodyslam. Follow us on Twitter at BodyslamNet. I think all of our social media is the same. You can buy Bodyslam t-shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees. And that'll do it. Again, I don't really have a sign off for this, so thank you again, Carl. This has been wonderful. This is Karl Fredericks. I'm the Jameus, the host of this new series on New Japan Strong. Peace out.